Let's talk about your online ministry. How do you view it, as a marketing tool or a delivery system? Your answer to that question is going to have a massive impact, not only today, but far into the future, and it's going to determine the fruit that actually comes out of it. You know, pre-COVID, I like to say that churches were kind of like Macy's with a website. Everything was designed to drive foot traffic to a physical place. On the backside of COVID, what many churches have learned is we need to have a mindset more like Home Depot or Target or Walmart, where we're agnostic about where the exchange takes place, whether it's in the physical zone or online. And when we think of the internet as primarily a marketing tool, we are missing out on so much of its potential. Because then it just becomes about advertising. And actually, online can be an incredibly powerful discipleship tool. Now, a lot of people always are pushing back at me, and they're saying, no, you need to be physically present. You know, you can't just have this experience online. And my answer is, well, you can, and it's a bit of a both and, but great change can take place online. And for so long, we have thought in terms of a local Bible study, a Sunday school class, delivering a sermon, especially those of us that preach those sermons. We think people have to be in front of us for them to be able to get any growth out of it. But discipleship has always taken two things. For us to take the next step of obedience, we generally need information and we need relationship to hold us accountable. Now, you can't have relationship totally online in most situations, although we did learn during some lockdowns that you could have some pretty significant relationships when you can actually see the person visually and communicate in the virtual world. I had a coaching client that was talking to me about the fact that I just don't know if people can really grow that aren't coming back to our site and are watching online. And I said, well, wait a minute. Do you realize we have grown to be close friends over the last 3 years? We're across the country. We not only share the coaching that I do, but we share our lives and all kinds of things. And we've only been physically present in the same room twice. And one of those times it was along with 25 other people, and the other was a large group gathering where we talked one-to-one. And yet over time we've begun to feel very, very close and connected to each other. So it can happen. But in the delivery of information side, I want to tell you that many times it's actually a little bit better online than it is physically present. I know for me, sometimes when I'm in a church and I'm listening to a sermon, I'm distracted by all the things that are going on. Crying kid over here, some guy or gal that's got to rub the back of their partner, and I'm thinking, get a room, and you just, all kinds of things are getting in the way. And yet when I'm watching something online, I can time shift it, I can stop it, I can think about it, the distractions aren't there. So when you think about your online ministry, are you waking up thinking of it as a discipleship delivery tool, getting the information to people, and for those who are far away, maybe gathering to get them together via Zoom or some other medium where they can talk about these things, pray for each other? Or is it simply something that is there so that you can get people back physically? Because in the new world we're living in, it's going to be a long, long, long time, and maybe never, until everybody wants to be there physically. The era of Macy's is gone. This idea that everything has to take place in the physical presence of the store is no longer true. And everything doesn't have to take place in the physical presence of our local churches. You know, you go all the way back to the early church, and it met in homes. Tiny homes. It didn't have worship sets. It didn't certainly have hazers and all the things that somehow today we've come to think are so important to that experience. What they all had, though, was relationship. And what we will always need going forward is relationship. But understand this, relationship is with the few and should never be confused with acquaintance with the many. Now, many of us are wired. We need lots of acquaintances, and we find lots of energy and lots of encouragement through that. But the irreducible minimum is not acquaintance and a larger gathering. The irreducible minimum is a next step of obedience, which needs information, and relationships where iron sharpens iron. And we're not just saying, hi, how you doing? Or when asked how we're doing, saying fine, even though we're dying. But people can say, no, you're not fine. Those kind of tight relationships. That's what leads to discipleship. So I encourage you, think differently, maybe. Maybe you're already there, but if not, think differently about your online presence. What happens if it's a delivery system to get that information out to people rather than just an advertisement so they will come to the building?